All right, y'all, we're taking a look at this boudoir photography business today. Gonna see if it has BSS for either of these two Google searches. So we're here in the GBC universe. We're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More on that, pinned video, pinned profile, pinned post, whatever. That's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So if we're bringing in people from the entire intent ladder, highest intent on the left to lowest intent on the right, boudoir photographer business is rising. And if we're not doing that, boudoir photographer business is falling. Pretty simple. Over on the left here, we talk about BSS. So the videos here, it's the highest intent peeps. People search for boudoir photo shoots on Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. So highest intent search, closest to the money. We want to dominate that first. And over at the end, BLCS, that's our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where right now we only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. So that's some other profiles out there in the universe. So BSS is boudoir search sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. So if we got 0 slots on page 1, we're hurting, we're screwed. Because I mean, we're on page 2 or 3 or somewhere later. And we also know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page 2. They page 1 only, they stay on page 1. So this is the bulk of people searching. The bulk of searchers, approximately 80% of all searches. So we actually want to cater this approximately 80% bulk. This is the bulk of the market. We don't care about the 20% that go to page 10. We don't care. Let's be the best in the universe at capturing these 80% that stay on page 1. So 0 slots, bad. 1 slot is bad because then, dude, we're looking the same as everyone else. We're, if we got 9 other competing boudoir photographers on our, on page 1, okay, they got 9, buyers are just clicking down, going down every, clicking every link open on, sending a message to every single person, getting a quote from everyone. And we're not standing out at all. They probably don't even reckon, they don't even remember our name. They're just clicking through all 10, us and 9 other competing boudoir photographers. So this is a diagnosis. It's the most common diagnosis actually I've seen with across all boudoir photography businesses. Also, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google is not normal. It's not normal to have that small number of slots on Google. This is actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. These 2 deeper root causes are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about, and the false belief of page 1 equality, which basically nobody knows about. So market saturation, obviously, more boudoir photographers entering the market seemingly every week. Every time anyone gets a new iPhone, they're sending out their Google My Business profile saying they now shoot boudoir, or they're, saying, they got their website, they're competing for page 1, maybe even giving out page 1, and kicking us off. Or they're getting a new camera, and now they're posting them on Facebook groups saying they also shoot boudoir. So more and more boudoir photographers are always entering the market. That's never going to change. And so that's market saturation. Everyone's used to that. COVID had a massive blast to that. People needed to earn income, couldn't work, and now actually needed to became boudoir photographers. So massive glut of boudoir photographers entered the market. The one that almost nobody knows about is the false belief of page 1 equality. So page 1 equality is basically assuming, everyone gets either 0 or 1 slots page 1 of Google. More photographers come in, they might kick me off page 1. Now I got 1 slot on page 2, but that's how it is. It is what it is. It is how it is. And hopefully maybe I get back, someone leaves, someone shuts out their website, I go back to page 1, or maybe I go on to page 3 eventually. And it's just kind of something people accepted, but this is a false belief. And I know that because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in 10 days. So I know Google will give us as many slots on page 1 as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And so I feel like most people there's never been a word for this, the false belief, for page 1 equality. People just there's never been a word to describe it. So I feel like people haven't really thought about whether they believe in it yes or believe in it no. But people's actions have told me it seems like people just have accepted it, right? Because they never, had explicitly a word to say, oh, do I believe in that or not? So, and also this false belief of page 1 equality has been the #1 killer of boudoir photography businesses that I have ever seen. People get relegated to page 2, they disappear pretty quickly after their business disappears because referrals only. lasts for so long. You can only spend so much ad money. CAC, customer acquisition cost, always goes up over time. It's the new people that have never heard about us yet that always, always, always sustain a business. We also know that boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer. Because we're from page 2, we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never hit in page 2. So we're disappearing, and pretty fast after that, our business will be disappearing as well from existence. And if we got one slot on page 1, well, that's the scariest number on page 1 because we are one person could kick us off to page 2 if they take our slot. And also, we look the same as the other 9. If there's other 9 slots or 9 boudoir photographers, we look the same. Nothing special. You know, they're clicking through all the links, contacting everyone, price shopping everyone. And so it's like 0 or 1, most likely disappearing for 0 or 1 both, you know, local and city search. So we got our universe building up here. Disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the 2 horns of market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. But luckily, BSS, boudoir search sameness, is treated with social search saturation. As our S-cubes methodology is our proprietary solution we've created. And been mastering and building it over about the last 7 months. And ready to bring it to market. And with S-cubes methodology, we can actually we can take it as many page 1 Google slots as we actually want for whichever keywords we want. Instead of Google PPC, you know, you get 1 extra text ad. Okay, who cares? Dude, we want to hit the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 organic slots and up, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this S-cubed methodology, it's social search saturation. So we saturate social search first. And then once we saturate social search, Google recognizes that and it flows to us saturating page 1 of Google search. So page 1 Google search is actually the byproduct of saturating social search. And this is actually the only, this is the only thing I've seen that actually is able to successfully fight back against market saturation. So imagine we're in Topeka, Kansas, where one boudoir photographer we got. There's a million total boudoir photographers competing in this city. Everyone's got their own website, everyone's ranking or trying to rank page 1 on Google. But we crank S-cubed methodology to the max. When we crank S-cubed methodology to the max, let's say we saturate social search, you know, the first 300 slots for the highest intent keywords across all social platforms. And also, as a result, we capture the first 300 slots organic for Google. Well, there's 10 organic slots per page on Google, so that's literally the first 30 pages that we saturate. So when anyone ever looks for a boudoir photographer in our city, anywhere they look, they search on social or they search on Google, we're basically the only one that they can find, even though there are literally 999,999 other boudoir photographers. And so whose business is growing? Ours, even though our market saturation has never been higher. And our business has never been growing faster because we captured so much, whatever, search intent or so many search slots. And so again, this is the only solution that I've seen that is able to successfully fight back against market saturation. Obviously, more market saturation, kind of the more you got to crank the S-cubed methodology. But at least we finally got something. Finally got something that gives us some hope. Now, once our BSS is treated with S-cubed methodology, we have page 1 visibility. So we kind of escape market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality, and we achieve page 1 visibility. Now, a bonus of this is we're kicking competing boudoir photographers off page 1, effectively making them invisible. So yeah, dude, every new slot we take on page 1 on Google, we're kicking a boudoir photographer out of there, relegating them to page 2 or deeper. And we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page 2. So that's literally 80%, the bulk of the market. It's never going to see them on Google. And same if we do, across all social search platforms. So this is a bonus of doing using the S-cubed methodology, kind of reducing the amount of boudoir photographers we're being price shopped against, or buyers even know exist. Now, page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So we're no longer at 0 slots on page 1 or 1 slot on page 1. Technically, we can do it with 2 slots on page 1, but we won't get to the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 for local search and city search. Now, boudoir search visibility, if we can get to 3, that's kind of our big hump we want to get over, because we're definitely going to stand out more than all the other boudoir photographers that have 1 slot on page 1 on Google. And there'll be times when another boudoir photographer will have 2 slots on Google, page 1 on Google. But if we got 3, we're dwarfing everyone. So we finally achieved it activates boudoir search visibility for us. And a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer. So this is our universe. We got, disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness. It's caused by the 2 horns of market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. That's fine. We got a solution now. S-cubed methodology. And we achieve page one visibility. So we overcome market saturation and the false belief of page one inequality. To achieve page one visibility, become visible Boudoir photographers with Boudoir search visibility. So I'm going to look at me using a S-cubed methodology here. I want to rank for the term BLCS Boudoir. And come down to organic. Got Instagram slot 1, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So in 10 days, I went from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google. And again, this is the only solution I've ever seen that can successfully outcompete market saturation. And it has its own, has its own momentum to it. Whereas if you stop spending it, momentum instantly drops to 0. That's on Google and on Facebook. So now we're here to the main event, the main course. Gonna see if this boudoir photographer has BSS for either of these Google searches, so local search and a city search. So let's see. So first looking at Gretna, Nebraska. And we got, all right, so we're going to the organic search. So we got 1. Yeah, we got 2. Well, we don't have the word boudoir here. So we don't count that. Slot 3 here, we got boudoir, that counts as 2. Micro photography. Okay, we'll count the 2 without the boudoir. We'll count that as 1. So we got 3 out of 10 slots. Here we go. 4 out of 10 slots. Here's a boudoir. Here's a one that has boudoir on it, and boudoir right there. 5. And then we got and then let's see. Looks like we got 6 here actually. So we got 6 out of 10 for local search. So this is super amazing. And all right, so local search is perfect. And now we're going to go to city search, Omaha, Nebraska. So we're going to go down to the organic. Let's see how many we got local search as well. First for the city search. See, we got, all right, we got, nope. No. All right, so it looks like, all right, dude, we're literally pulling in 0 peeps from Omaha. So we literally got 0 out of 10. So we definitely got BSS for the second search, the city search. But so Gretna, no BSS. We actually hit the GBC minimum, at least 3 out of 10. And Omaha, Nebraska, we're not hitting the, we do have BSS and we're not hitting the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10. All right, so if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, meaning you've gone to do the local search and the city search with the highest intent boudoir by your keywords, and you either got BSS for one of those searches or you're not reaching the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 Google slots. So you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, which now you know. It's kind of the warning light, canary in the coal mine to eventually disappear in boudoir photography business. And you understand page 1 inequalities, the false belief page 1 inequality is exactly that, a false belief. And so you're kind of broken out of the mind cage. You're like, all right, we can take as many page 1 slots on Google as we want. So I've decided I'm going to put in the effort to do that. And so you're seeing S-cubed methodology is the exact solution you've been looking for. And you also understand, the market saturation is kind of naturally as people get new gear, more boudoir photographer sellers for the same number of, competing for the same number of buyers. And as a result, you are, you're liking the initial benefit of more page 1 slots on Google. You're definitely liking the second initial benefit of, basically of more peeps being kicked off page 1 on Google. And as a result, you're liking those initial benefits, and then you actually are thinking ahead to some future benefits, which is, man, AI is going to be taking so many people's jobs, and that's actually going to be the largest bringer of boudoir photographers into the market, massively increasing the number of sellers. And you're like, all right, I actually got a third benefit. I need to basically fortify my position on Google page one. I need to have so many links on page one, Google can't even fit them there. And Google's like holding my links in backup to be on page one because I got too many links that could and should be ranking on page one to prevent any of these AI forced people who are losing their jobs that become boudoir photographers to ever even get on page one. Kind of like fortifying the levees in Nolens, Louisiana, because that city is below sea level. So you're seeing kind of future benefit. S-Cube's methodology is the only thing that can give that benefit. And you're also seeing that the other future benefits, basically, as we do S-Cube methodology for more and more keywords, we're building up these invisible thematic keyword columns around our brand, around our business. And when we do that, it's kind of like, columns at the Parthenon in Athens, or like, think of like our business, our brand name as kind of the hub out on the internet, and then all these spokes, kind of like a bicycle wheel, going into the hub or coming out of the hub. This is basically building up AI mindshare for those thematic keywords, where it's looking at repetition, relevance, frequency, age, authority. How long we've been associated with these keywords, how many times, where are we ranking, and every day we successfully execute S-Cube methodology, we're actually increasing the probability of being recommended up here up top with the AI overview. And when we successfully rank for the AI overview, we are we're actually able, higher chance of getting this premium slot. Can't even pay for the slot with ads, this AI overview slot. And I believe it's only one person showing at a time here. And so that's a future benefit. Also, in the same breath, we're increasing the probability that we get recommended AI search, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. Increased probability AI search recommends us. And yeah, Google search is still approximately 90% of global search. But dude, AI search is growing literally every single day. And as a result, we are increasing chance to get recommended there. Last time I used AI search to search for a boudoir photographer in the city was it gave me 3. This is ChatGPT. It gave me 3. Then I went kind of like manually search, on Google or Facebook. And it turns out there's like 60. So I'm like, man, we gotta find a way to get in these 3 slots in kind of like any way possible. And so you're liking that future benefit. You're also liking that my plan right now is to work with only one boudoir photographer per city. So you're seeing that since you decide to be a first mover and hop on this, you can actually prevent all your competitors from using this strategy. And because of that, you'll be able to get like massive momentum, page one slots kicking them off page one, massive fortification momentum, massive back-end AI mindshare momentum with all these invisible thematic keywords being, basically plugged into your brand and growing that AI mindshare, increase the probability of AI search overview and AI search recommendation you're showing up for, and basically building a gap so big none of your current competitors can catch it, nor any new entrants coming from AI taking people's jobs can catch it. And conversely, you're saying that if one of your competitors were, to start working with me and use the strategy first in your same city, then they would get all those benefits. We'd be building up a massive gap with them, with AI mindshare against you, kicking your links off page one of Google, and you would actually have to, then go and rederive S-Cube methodology for yourself, derive it the first time, then go execute it every single day correctly. And then once you do that, you would actually, if you equaled our output, you would literally be maintaining the gap with me and your competitor had already built against you. So you'd actually have to like double or triple our output in order to, basically in order to close the gap, kind of pull that AI mindshare from me and your competitor back over to you. But how's one gonna do 2 to 3x the effort when they aren't even 100% confident they've derived S-Cube methodology correctly in the first place? It's even worth investing all that time. So you've decided, screw it. I ain't missing this chance. I ain't missing this opportunity. I'm simply going to be the first mover and get rolling. So I was actually, shoot me a DM. My DMs are currently closed. The hospital is not currently accepting new patients. But when we do open the hospital for new patient intake, shoot us a DM and we will see if you qualify to utilize our S-Cubed methodology.